Welcome back to the June 6th, 2020 edition of Pro Wrestling Throwdown. Caleb Black, Luke the Big Dog Williams, Mighty Max Fury, my son Jordan. We're adding in a new segment, Luke. We talked about this a little bit last week. It's something we wanted to try. We could call it Super Kickin' It Old School. Basically,
gimmick.
We're going to start adding in a couple of segments where we talk about the history of pro wrestling. Things we liked, things we didn't like. Because we cover all the modern stuff, and we want to do a little bit of a throwback.
And also, eventually it could be anything from topics of what they're doing in the old school that they're doing now. We could do reviews. I mean, send in some stuff.
Yeah, hit us up in the mailbag.
To know what you guys would like. But yeah, Super Kickin' It Old School.
Super Kickin' It Old School. That's the segment. All right. Today we're talking War Games. Now we're going to give you a little bit of a history of the War Games. I'm actually going to let Luke do that because he's our resident historian. Luke, tell us about War Games. Tell us about War Games, Grandpa.
Back in my day. No, rabbits. War Games, or otherwise at the time known as the War Games, and then you had the Match Beyond. When the whole thing started.
Yeah, buddy.
Usually had teams of 5 apiece. 2 men start, 1 from each team. After 5 minutes, a coin was tossed.
Yep.
Winner of the coin got the advantage, added another person in every 2 minutes until all 10 men were in the ring.
Yep.
That's when War Games stopped and the Match Beyond began.
Yep.
2 rings, double cage, covered on top. There was a roof. The only way to win was to have an opponent of yours surrender for the team. Only had to be one person. It wasn't elimination.
Nope.
If one person said, I surrender, match was over. That's the only way. No referees in the ring. It was pretty much the ultimate blow-off match.
Yeah.
Even though, evidently, a lot of the War Games weren't televised.
No, they weren't.
A lot of the original War Games, there was one original, and then they toured... or as we call it, they went around the horn.
Yeah.
Numerous times that year.
Yeah.
With War Games, I think in preparation to get it right for the second one.
Yeah.
It's a great concept. It's a way for faction warfare at that time.
Yep.
I believe the first one was... I'm probably going to... Max, would you do me a favor? Look up the participants for the first War Games. I think it was Dusty Rhodes... the Road Warriors, and somebody. I can't think of who the other one.
Would it have been Ole when he turned on Dusty in the beginning of the match?
Because I think that it was the 4 Horsemen that they worked in it, but I can't for the life of me think of who the last
Barry Windham,
member of that team.
I don't think it would have been Windham at the time.
Yeah, I see. I can't get a. Well, he's looking it up for us. But
while he's looking that up, there are a lot of matches kind of like War Games that were built to be like it. Obviously, the WWE does their own version in NXT, but the cage isn't covered.
No.
And then, if you remember correctly, Lethal Lockdown was inspired by War Games.
Lethal Lockdown, the Elimination Chamber was also inspired by War Games.
MLW had War Games of their very own. The promotion MLW, if you're not familiar, is a top tier independent company. Check them out on YouTube. They're fucking great.
And to be fair, MLW owns the name War Games.
Yes, they do.
They lease it to the WWE for distribution rights.
Yep. So
Dusty owned
a lot of matches were modeled after the War Games. War Games was an animal unto itself. I always loved the concept of the 2 rings.
The 2 rings connected. Well, at the time they were just pushed together. And nowadays they put the strip of metal across the thing. Was great. I remember one of the moments that stick out in my mind from my childhood was I think it was Brian Pillman that was in that match.
Flying Brian?
I do remember Flying Brian. This is the thing I remember. I remember Sid Vicious power bombing Brian Pillman.
Yeah.
And when he lifted him to get him up, Brian Pillman's face slams off the top of the cage. He power bombs him and continuously does it until eventually he surrenders.
Yeah.
I mean, for that time, that's vicious.
Yeah, that was brutal, man.
What we got? Oh.
Breaking news.
Did you know it was inspired by Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome?
That actually makes sense.
Yeah.
Dusty Rhodes. Looking for the matches here.
Sure.
We were in 1988.
So the first one was in 88.
Yep.
I'm almost certain was Dusty and the Road Warriors and somebody else, but I could be wrong.
Match. Road Warriors.
Yep.
Animal. Nikita Koloff.
Nikita Koloff.
Nikita Koloff.
Dusty Rhodes.
Yep.
And Paul Ellering.
Oh, that's
yeah,
right. So that's 5. Okay.
Defeated the Four Horsemen: Ric Flair, Arn Anderson, Lex Luthor, Tully, and Blanchard.
And J.J. Dillon.
James J.
So the managers were in on it.
Motherfucking Dillon. I love J.J.
And that
Dillon.
was Dusty and them going over, correct?
Dusty
Yeah,
Rhodes,
sure.
baby. In the ball game.
I mean,
Ole Anderson.
Yeah.
Ole! You son of a bitch!
You're bleeding the army.
That was July 4th, 1987.
87.
Do yourself a favor.
Independence Day.
Check out a War Games
Fantastic.
match.
Uh-huh.
There's
Yeah, give me another one.
Sure, one more.
more. July 31st, 1987.
This was on the tour, right? We just talked about?
I
Yes.
would assume so, yeah. The Great American Bash.
Okay.
Miami, Florida. Road Warriors. Nikita Koloff, Dusty Rhodes, and Paul Ellering. Again, it's the same match.
So it was a
Yeah,
rematch.
it's the, yeah.
So they went around the horn with the same.
Ole! Do yourself a favor and just YouTube Dusty Rhodes, Ole Anderson promos.
Just do
Because
Dusty
it's
Rhodes
just Dusty
promos, period.
screaming at Ole Anderson, and they're all fucking great.
But yes, Dusty Rhodes created the whole gimmick.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, what I think separates the two from nowadays and the way they did it right in the day is, of course, the top.
Yeah.
It means so much. Like I said, the power bomb, not being able to get to clear.
Just murdering Brian
At one
Pillman.
point, Brian Pillman grabs a hold of the top of the cage and flings himself into a drop kick over the top rope into the second ring.
That's so cool.
It adds so much more stuff
I
to
agree.
it.
I agree. The top is essential for the match beyond.
And nowadays, like the NXT War Games, it allows weapons. And back in the day, you didn't need that. The cage was the weapon.
Yeah.
That's all you needed.
Yep. Hell, the ring was the weapon. I mean, there were so many fun, innovative, violent matches.
Well, and you think back in the day, you let's say Dusty's in the ring.
Yeah.
He's wrestling Tully. Okay? Coin flip goes in the heel's favor. You have Arn Anderson come in, and Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard beat the ever-living hell out of Dusty Rhodes for 2 minutes.
Yep.
In 2 minutes, they have beaten this man almost unconscious.
Yep.
And then you get that hot minute where that buzzer goes off and in comes Hawk from, come
buddy.
on.
Yeah. Talk about exciting.
It's for itself.
They kept that same tour for 2 years till 1989 when they finally changed that card up.
Jesus.
With
1 year?
to the Road Warriors with the Midnight Express and Stan Lane.
Yep.
And Steve Williams.
Yeah.
Dr. Death.
Yeah. Defeated Fabulous Freebirds. And the Samoan SWAT team.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
That would have been a hell of a
That would have been, what was that? Was that on a pay-per-view?
No, that was the second.
That was the second War Games tour.
The second War Games tour.
Wow. Couldn't
And
imagine having one of those matches with those guys.
I'm
for 2
assuming
years
they
straight.
probably went with that one for another 2
Jesus
years.
Lord.
Well, I know eventually they ended up making
Oh,
the
no.
War Games pay-per-view.
Yeah.
And they changed it a lot more frequently.
I'm seeing that here now.
Of course, my favorite War Games was Sting's Army versus the Dangerous Alliance.
Yeah.
Which was great. War Games is such a fantastic and innovative product, and I think that they did it correctly in the day. Not that I don't like the NXT ones.
Yeah.
It's just not the same.
It's just not the
It's
same.
not War Games.
All right, y'all. That's going to do us up for this new segment, Super Kickin' It Old School. Tell us what you think about it. You want us to keep it? We'll keep coming with lots of old school talk. We got another old school segment coming up next. Make sure to send us an email at prowrestlingthrowdown@gmail.com. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/prowrestlingthrowdown, or leave us a comment below after you like and subscribe, and stay tuned for the classic callback.